Welcome back to the deep dive. We often delve into really cutting edge stuff, right? Algorithms, data science, all claiming to predict what's next. But today, we're doing something totally different. We're going completely analog,
Hmm.
diving into the ancient, but, still incredibly popular art of palmistry or shouxiang. And it's a pretty big claim that your character, your potential, your whole destiny, it's literally right there, etched into your hands.
It's a fascinating system, really, and it's
Yeah.
not new, not by a long shot. We think palmistry probably started in India, maybe over 4,000 years ago. Then it spread, across Asia into Europe. What makes it interesting, I think, philosophically, is that it kind of works on a deterministic idea. Like there's a pre-existing order and these specific marks on your hand. They connect to specific outcomes.
Right, and that's the tension, isn't it? If destiny is sort of pre-ordered, then why do our hands actually change over time? Which they do. And here's what really grabs me. Every single person's palm is unique, even identical twins, same DNA, totally different palm markings. It suggests this destiny blueprint is incredibly individual.
Exactly. So our mission today, if you like, is to try cut through some of the myths and maybe the confusion that's built up over centuries. We're going to look at the structure of the main lines, the big three. We'll unpack that interplay between, fate and free will.
Yeah.
And this is the exciting part for me. We want to identify the really potent signs, the ones associated with, like, serious wealth, leadership, the kind of destiny that might even, well, change history.
Okay, so basically, we're giving you, the listener, a kind of shortcut to understanding the map of your own life. So go on, hold up your hands right now, take a look at those lines. Let's see if we can decode your destiny together.
All right, let's start with something pretty fundamental but often misunderstood. This idea, probably from centuries of different customs, that you read hands differently for men and women.
Yeah, like left for men, right for women, or vice versa.
Exactly.
We really needed to move past that. It's pretty antiquated. That whole gender rule, it came from specific dynasties, specific times where, one side might have been favored, or maybe societal roles meant men's public lives were seen as more, well, dominant. But palmistry itself, at its core, it's not gender specific like that. You absolutely have to read both hands, both of them, to get the full picture.
Okay, so both hands. That means we're looking at two different maps, essentially. Two layers of destiny.
That's a great way to put it. Two layers. For a right-handed person, say, the left hand isn't just like a spare. It carries a specific kind of potential.
Well, we tend to divide destiny into these two main categories that exist together. Your non-dominant hand, so the left, for most people, that reflects what we call heavenly fate. Think of it as your innate blueprint, what you were born with. Your predetermined talents, challenges, baseline health, fortune, the stuff you get without even trying.
Okay, the starting point.
Oh.
And the dominant hand, the one we write with, interact with. That's the story of what we do with it.
Precisely. That's your acquired destiny. This hand shows the fate you shape through your own efforts, your choices, your struggles. Also the environment you're in, the things you're exposed to, it's what you earn. So a palmist is looking at the conversation, really, or maybe the contrast between these two hands.
That brings up a big question, though. If the heavenly fate is the blueprint, how much can my acquired destiny really change things? Can hard work completely erase, let's say, a bad starting hand?
Well, the sources generally suggest the acquired destiny, your dominant hand, it acts like a modifier. It can enhance or weaken what's on the innate hand, but it doesn't seem to completely change that fundamental blueprint, your actual realized destiny. It's always going to be a mix of both. Think of it less like hitting delete, more like using a powerful editing tool.
Okay, editing, not erasing. Can you give us a concrete example, maybe using one of the big lines?
Sure, let's take the lifeline. Remember, that's about vitality, not lifespan. Say on your heavenly fate hand, your non-dominant one, the lifeline looks weak, maybe it's short or broken up. Suggests lower innate stamina, maybe.
Right.
But then you look at your acquired destiny hand, your dominant one, and the lifeline there is strong, long, clear. That's a really positive sign. It suggests that even if you started with less natural vitality, you've made good choices or had a really supportive environment, maybe you're disciplined about health. Stuff like that has boosted your energy levels significantly.
So the dominant hand is almost like a progress report or an accountability map. And conversely, I suppose, if your non-dominant hand showed amazing potential, really strong lines, but the dominant hand looks weak and messy, that suggests maybe you haven't made the most of your gifts.
Absolutely. Wasted potential, perhaps, through poor choices or just bad circumstances you didn't overcome. That's why effort is so central here. If that non-dominant hand shows a tough path, you must check the dominant hand. It's dynamic. It shows if personal effort is managing to improve the outcome. You're always reading the gap, the potential you were given versus the potential you've actually realized.
Okay, now we know which hand tells which part of the story. Let's get into the real core of it, the three essential lines, the big three. If you look at your palm right now, you can probably spot them easily.
The lifeline, the wisdom line, sometimes called the headline, and the emotion line or heart line. Vitality, intellect, and feeling.
Right.
Master these three, and you've got a solid foundation for understanding someone's basic nature, really, regardless of any other little lines they might have. Hashtag A. The lifeline, vitality and resilience.
Let's hit the biggest myth first, the lifeline. Its length doesn't mean how long you're going to live, right?
Absolutely not. That's probably the single most persistent and incorrect idea in palmistry. Length is not lifespan. What the line actually reflects is the strength, the tenacity of your vital energy, your life force, how resilient you are, how well you bounce back from illness or stress.
Okay, so if it's not length, what is the key thing to look for?
It's the curvature, the arc of the line. Picture this. Look at the space between your index and middle finger. Imagine dropping a line straight down your palm from there. If your lifeline dives down steeply or it's short and doesn't really cross that imaginary vertical line, that tends to suggest a lower level of initial life force, or maybe one that diminishes quicker.
And a strong one.
A strong one has a wider sweep. It curves outwards, maybe towards the base of your thumb, encompassing a larger area of the palm. That indicates persistent vitality, good physical reserves, enduring strength.
So it's about the area it contains, not just how far it goes down the wrist.
Got it. Now, what about people with, amazing resilience? Can the line show that? Augmentation.
Yes, absolutely. This is where you see really stubborn life energy. Some people have multiple lifelines running parallel, 2, 3. I've even heard of cases with 4, though that's super rare.
Yeah.
These extra lines basically signify deep physical reserves and incredible ability to recover from things that would floor most people. Real tenacity.
And what about signs of moving or living abroad? You mentioned travel lines. Right. These usually look like clear forks or branches coming off the main lifeline, often pointing downwards or outwards towards the edge of the palm. Generally, travel lines are seen as a positive sign. They suggest you might thrive living far from where you were born, often linked to good luck abroad, diverse experiences, finding success away from your roots. If you have clear ones, the advice is usually, don't be afraid to move, hashtag B, the wisdom headline, thought process.
Okay, moving inwards. The wisdom line, or headline. Map of the mind. Crucial point first. This line is about how you think your mental style, right? Not your IQ score.
Absolutely critical distinction. Zero correlation with measurable intelligence. It's about the process, the circuitry. When we read this line, we mainly look at two things, length and shape. Length tells us about the duration and depth of thought. So a shorter line may be ending under your middle or ring finger. That's just more intuitive thinking. Quick reflexes mentally. They tend to prefer the conclusion, the bottom line, rather than dwelling on the process. Often quite decisive people.
Right, so the person with the long line is the opposite. They need all the details, the backstory.
Exactly. A long line, stretching right across the palm, indicates someone prone to deeper, more cautious thinking. They like thorough information, context, weighing arguments. They can also be prone to, overthinking things. It's just a different processing speed.
Let's think practical application. Say I'm trying to persuade someone or sell them something. How does knowing their wisdom line help?
Okay, good question. If your client or whoever has a short line, give them the conclusion first. Bullet points are good. Offer details only if they ask. If you start with a long, detailed explanation, you'll lose them. They get impatient.
And the long liner?
Opposite approach. You have to give them the context, the why, the data, the reasoning. If you just jump to the conclusion, they might feel suspicious, like you're hiding something. They need to follow the logical steps.
Makes sense. Okay, what about the shote? Straight versus curved?
A straight wisdom line suggests a more rational, logical, linear thinker, someone who goes A to B to C pretty directly.
And if it curves?
A curve indicates more emotional or intuitive processing. These people often prioritize how things feel, the emotional resonance, maybe symbolism. It can signify an artistic temperament, a creative mind, more right-brained if you like. A really pronounced curve might mean they even struggle with purely objective logic sometimes.
We should also touch on where it starts, right? Its connection to the lifeline. That says something about independence.
Yes. If the wisdom line starts completely separate from the lifeline, not touching it at the beginning, it often indicates a very independent streak. Maybe willful, even rebellious. Someone who makes up their own mind quickly doesn't necessarily follow the family line.
And if they start joined together?
The closer they start together, the more the person is considered, well, sensible, maybe more considerate or cautious initially. They might rely more on family views or established ways of doing things, at least early on.
One more thing here. What if someone has more than one wisdom line?
It's rare, but yeah, it happens. It usually suggests multiple distinct talents or very diverse mental skills. Like they could be incredibly analytical and highly creative. Maybe they run a tech company or they're also a gifted musician, that sort of thing. Switching between different modes of thinking easily. Hashtag C. The emotion heart line. Sentiment and relationships.
Okay, the last of the big three. The emotion line, or heart line, governs feelings, passion, how we relate to others. And length here is key again, measured against, what, the finger?
Yeah, you usually gauge it relative to the space between the index and middle fingers. A noticeably short line, one that maybe doesn't reach that gap, often associated with emotional volatility. Big highs, big lows. They can be impulsive, quick to anger, perhaps. Yeah. But the upside is they tend to process emotions quickly. They usually don't hold on to grudges for long. It passes.
Okay. And the long line, extending maybe to the index finger or even further, that means stability, but with a catch.
Generally, yes, more emotional stability, capable of deep, steady commitment. But they tend to intellectualize emotions. They think about feelings a lot, analyze relationships deeply, and the major caveat we mentioned, they often do hold grudges. Because they process things so thoroughly, an offense isn't easily forgotten. It gets filed away.
Interesting. What about the angle? Does it matter if it curves up or down?
It does. A sharp upward curve towards the fingers can indicate heightened emotional sensitivity, maybe taking things to heart easily. A flatter, gentler curve suggests less impulsivity, maybe more steadiness.
And if it curves down at the end?
A downturn right at the end, that's often interpreted as a more cool or detached emotional nature. Maybe someone who prioritizes logic, career, or power over emotional expression. Could be good in high-pressure jobs, needing detachment, perhaps.
Back to practical stuff. In sales, for instance, this line seems like it would be super revealing about impulse control, maybe more than the wisdom line.
Oh, absolutely. If you see a client with a short emotion line, they're likely prone to impulse bias. The advice: close the deal quickly while they're feeling positive. Don't give them too much time to change their mind.
And the long line buyer?
Don't push. They need time and space to rationalize the decision. High-pressure tactics will likely make them suspicious and back off. Give them the info, let them mull it over.
And in romance, same dynamic, quick passion versus slow burn?
Pretty much. Short line folks. Prone to love at first sight, whirlwind romances, maybe quick marriages based on intense feeling. Long line people, they deliberate, they analyze compatibility, pros and cons. But once they do commit, after all that thought, they're usually incredibly devoted and loyal partners.
So the implication for finding a partner is look for someone similar to yourself.
That's often the simplest advice given, yeah. If you're a long line thinker, pairing up with a short line impulsive type could lead to constant friction. Your emotional rhythms, how you process arguments, how quickly you get over things, it will likely be mismatched.
Okay, before we move off the big three, let's circle back to that really lovely sounding one, the goddess of fortune mark, the three-pronged end to the emotion line. Why does it bring luck to others?
Right, that trifurcated ending. It signifies someone with a really generous, warm, and sort of magnetically positive emotional nature. They benefit themselves. Sure, they have good relationships. But the reason they supposedly bring luck to those around them is that their presence is stabilizing. They inspire loyalty, attract positivity. They're like emotional anchors, somehow making their social circle feel safer, luckier, just better.
Okay, we've got the core personality down with the big three. Now let's look at the lines that supposedly map out our trajectory. Success, big life changes. We're talking about the fate line, also called the success line or luck line sometimes.
That's right. It's typically a vertical line running up the center of the palm, usually starting near the wrist and heading towards the fingers. It's hugely important in readings, but, and this is key, not everyone has one. Which is why it's not counted in the main three.
Right, so what does it mean if you look at your palm and there's no fate line there? Does that mean you're doomed to fail?
No, not at all failure. But it does suggest your role in life might be more supportive. You're perhaps not destined to be the one out front, the main leader, the person whose name is on the door. You might be better suited and happier as the crucial number two, the expert advisor, the indispensable team member who makes things happen behind the scenes, contributing to collective goals rather than driving your own singular path.
Okay, and if you do have one, especially a clear, strong one going all the way up.
Ah, well, a clear, continuous fate line from bottom to top, that's considered a very positive sign. It signifies a clear direction in life, a successful trajectory, often with a sense of purpose and, yes, good fortune along the way. You're likely the driver of your own destiny.
And it acts like a timeline, doesn't it? Read from the bottom up.
Correct. Bottom of the palm is youth. Heading up towards the fingers represents later life. So if your fate line is only clear in the lower half, say below the headline, that suggests your best opportunities, your peak success, might be concentrated in your earlier years. You should really push hard when you're young.
And if it only appears in the upper half, starting maybe mid-palm.
Definitive late bloomer sign. Success, recognition, the big chances they're likely to arrive later in life. So the advice is patience, perseverance. Don't get discouraged if things start slow. Your time is coming.
What about breaks or interruptions in the line? Does that mean disaster?
Not necessarily disaster, but change. Breaks or discontinuities often correlate with significant career changes, or maybe major shifts in your life's direction during that specific period shown on the palm.
And if the line isn't just broken, but looks kind of
Meh.
messy, fragmented.
Yeah, a fragmented or chaotic-looking fate line. Lots of small, weak, disconnected pieces that can indicate instability. Maybe a life path that wanders, difficulty sticking to one thing, lacking perseverance. And if you see that, it's absolutely crucial to immediately check the dominant hand, the acquired destiny hand. See if focused effort, discipline, has managed to bring some order to that potential chaos. Can willpower stabilize it?
Okay. Now, what about positive variations? Can you have more than one fate line?
Yes, though it's not super common. Multiple clear fate lines running parallel. That can indicate dual careers or maybe significant income from two very different sources at the same time. Side hustles that become major, that kind of thing.
And forks, branches coming off it.
Forks usually signify opportunities for expansion, diversification, success branching out in new directions. And a really good sign is a clear three-pronged fork right at the very end of the fate line, up near the fingers. That's often seen as a classic indicator of happiness and security in old age.
And sometimes there are little lines next to the fate line, helping lines, noble people lines.
Exactly. Auxiliary lines. These are usually fine parallel lines running alongside the main fate line for a certain stretch. They represent external help or support arriving during that specific period of your life. And there's a distinction. If the helping line is on the side closer to your thumb, the help is said to come from family, relatives. If it's on the side closer to your pinky finger, the support comes from outside mentors, influential friends, patrons, organizations, #SpeedB, the Mystic Cross, protection and intuition.
All right, let's move to a really intriguing, almost mystical marking, the Mystic Cross. Highly sought after, right? Where do we find this one?
You look in that squarish area on the palm between the headline, wisdom line, and the heart line, emotional line. It's often called the quadrangle. The Mystic Cross is a small cross shape found there. It can be formed by a short horizontal line crossing the fate line if the fate line runs through the area. But importantly, even a small independent cross mark in that space counts, even if you don't have a fate line there.
And its meaning is pretty profound, isn't it? Almost legendary.
It really is. People with a clear mystic cross are said to be under some kind of special protection, like a mysterious benevolent force looking out for them. They might survive accidents or disasters that seem impossible to walk away from. Near misses are common.
Wow. Protection. But it's more than just safety, right? Something about manifestation.
Yes, that's the other key aspect. It's strongly linked to manifestation power. People with this mark often find that, the law of attraction seems to work unusually well for them.
Their thoughts have more weight.
Kind of. Things they strongly imagine or desire seem to materialize more easily, sometimes without even conscious effort. And because of this connection, the advice for people with Mystic Cross is always, trust your intuition deeply. Your gut feelings are likely tapping into that protective guiding force.
Now, this idea that you can actually change your fate by physically changing your palm, it sounds like pure folklore, but there are stories, even historical ones. We have to talk about Toyotomi Hideyoshi.
Ah, yes, the classic example. Hideyoshi, 16th century Japanese leader, started life incredibly poor, basically a servant, and supposedly had no fate line visible on his palm. The story goes, he was involved in a fight or battle, received a severe sword wound to his hand, and this injury accidentally carved a deep, clear fate line into his palm.
Whoa.
And according to the legend, it was after this new line appeared that his fortunes dramatically changed. He rose from nothing to eventually unify Japan, becoming one of his most powerful rulers. The belief is the physical change triggered the change in destiny.
That's an incredible story. Trauma literally rewriting fate on the hand. And this isn't just ancient history, right? People are trying to do this deliberately today with surgery.
Believe it or not, yes. Particularly in South Korea, there's a known practice of cosmetic surgery specifically for palm lines, so Sheng modification. People actually elect to have surgeons create or deepen lines, especially the fate line, based on the belief that altering the map alters the future.
Seriously. So you can order up a better fate line. How do they decide which hand, what shape?
Well, the patient consults with the surgeon, often with input from a palmist, I imagine. They choose the hand based on what they want to change. Want to fix a perceived bad blueprint. Maybe alter the non-dominant heavenly fate hand. Want to boost current efforts and success. Modify the dominant acquired destiny hand. They can even apparently choose the shape, maybe a straight line for focused success, or a circled one if they want more diverse opportunities. It's the ultimate expression of belief in that physical map dictating the journey.
Okay, let's get to the real power players. The marks that supposedly signify massive fortune, influence, maybe even fame. Starting with one of the most striking visually, the palmar crease or the simian line.
Right, this is where the headline and the heart line are completely merged. Instead of two separate lines running across the upper palm, there's just one single strong crease going all the way across. It's quite rare, maybe 1% to 3% of people have it on one hand, and it signifies a real intensity of character.
Because thought and feeling are fused, there's no separation.
Exactly. All that mental energy and all that emotional energy are running on the same track. It usually indicates extreme independence, incredible focus often on career, and a very powerful, sometimes overwhelming drive. If they can channel that intensity constructively, the potential for major success, particularly in business or leadership, is thought to be immense.
Now, the source material mentioned a historical kind of gendered view of this line. We should probably touch on that, but, impartially.
Yes, historically, looking back through older texts, this line was often viewed through the lens of traditional gender roles because it signifies such a strong, independent, sometimes maybe stubborn or nonconformist nature. It was often seen as more advantageous for men who were expected to be leaders or pioneers in the public sphere. For women, in societies with more restrictive roles, that same intent independence was sometimes seen as, disruptive, difficult.
But that's the historical context. Today, it's viewed differently.
Absolutely. In modern palmistry, it's generally seen as a mark of huge potential, ambition, and focus for anyone. It just suggests that career, or whatever their main passion is, will likely dominate their life path in a very singular way.
Okay. Now, what if someone has the simian line on both hands? Blueprint and acquired destiny showing this intense fusion. That's the king's line, right? Ba Wang Wen.
That is exceptionally rare, like maybe 1 in 10,000, perhaps even rarer. And it is strongly, almost universally, linked to significant wealth, power, and a destiny that shapes things on a large scale.
Yeah.
People with the king's line on both hands. They're supposedly constitutionally unsuited for working for someone else. Their independence and drive are just too immense. They almost have to be entrepreneurs, founders, leaders in their own right. They don't fit well into standard hierarchies.
Wow. Okay, let's shift to money specifically. There's making money, and then there's keeping it. And there are different lines for that.
Yes, the two main wealth lines. These are typically finer lines that run downwards from the mouths, the fleshy pads under the ring and pinky fingers, often heading towards the fate line. The line under the ring finger is often called the gold fortune line. This represents your ability to attract wealth, to make money, your magnetism for financial opportunity. This is the one linked to windfalls, maybe lottery luck.
The getter. And the other one?
Under the pinky finger, that's the wealth line proper. This represents your ability to manage money, to retain it, to make it grow through prudence and good stewardship. The keeper.
So you could have one without the other.
Absolutely. Someone might have a fantastic gold fortune line, win big, but if their wealth line under the pinky is weak or absent, they might just fritter it all away. Conversely, someone with a strong wealth line might be a disciplined saver and investor who builds wealth slowly, even without major windfalls.
So ideally, you want both to be strong. Maybe partner up if you only have one.
That's the ideal combination, yes. The earner and the manager in one person.
Yeah.
Or, yes, find a partner who complements your strength. And crucially for both lines, length matters. For them to indicate serious, lasting financial influence, they really need to be reasonably long and clear, ideally crossing the emotion line and maybe even reaching the fate line. Short, faint lines don't carry the same weight.
Okay. Next up, the lucky star, Jingwen. This one's interesting because it's said to change over time.
Yes, these are considered more dynamic. A lucky star isn't just a cross, it's two intersecting lines. A true star mark is formed by three or more lines intersecting at a single point, creating a clear star shape. And its meaning depends entirely on where it appears on the palm.
Where are the key spots?
Okay, under the ring finger, the Mount of Apollo. That's financial luck again. Potential windfalls, lottery luck. Under the index finger, Mount of Jupiter, it suggests a major wish or ambition is about to be realized. Power, influence.
What about the other finger?
Under the middle finger, Mount of Saturn, it's often linked to fame, recognition, good reputation, or sometimes significant luck in marriage or partnerships. And under the pinky finger, Mount of Mercury, it usually points towards good results in academics, studies, or work projects, maybe a breakthrough or promotion.
Right. Now, the gambler's mark, or intuition line, does this mean you should hit the casinos?
Probably not. It's found on the Mount of Moon, that fleshy part on the pinky side of the palm, down towards the wrist. It doesn't mean you're destined to be a gambler. What it does indicate is often a high degree of luck in situations involving probability, but usually smaller scale stuff. You might frequently win raffles, small lottery prizes, drawings. It also strongly suggests very powerful intuition, especially practical intuition.
But not necessarily the jackpot.
For the really big life-changing wins, you'd still typically need the support of a lucky star in the right place or a very strong goal fortune line. The gambler's mark is more about frequent small boosts and trusting your gut.
Okay, saving the rarest for near the end. The mark that signifies potential world-changing impact. Solomon's star.
This is considered the absolute pinnacle by many palmists. A clear, distinct, five-pointed star, a pentagram shape appearing anywhere on the palm. Its significance is huge. People with this mark are said to possess the highest level of potential destiny. The potential to genuinely change history, achieve global recognition, reach the very top of their field, Nobel Prize winners, world champions, iconic artists. Unmatched potential greatness.
Wow, okay. Sharing the name but different is Solomon's ring. Less earth-shattering, but still good.
Still very positive, yes. Solomon's ring is a semicircular line found curving beneath the base of the index finger. It signifies charisma, natural leadership qualities, popularity, often an ability to teach or influence others. Michael Jackson is often cited as someone who reportedly had multiple Solomon's rings, reflecting that immense global appeal and connection with audiences.
And then there's the one that sounds like a dramatic movie plot, the 1,000 Gold Gates, the big turnaround.
Tianjin, yes. This is essentially a very large, clear, complete version of Solomon's ring, encircling the base of the index finger more fully. It signifies a dramatic reversal of fortune, often a get-rich-overnight scenario, especially coming from a period of hardship or a low point in life. If you have this and things are tough, the suggestion is, hold on, a major positive shaste is potentially written into your destiny.
And finally, one more mark, this one more spiritual, the Buddha's eye.
Or fo yan. This is a specific pattern, looks like a little eye shape, found on the upper knuckle crease of the thumb, the joint closest to the thumbnail. It's seen as a sign of spiritual protection, strong intuition, sometimes even psychic ability. Indicates a highly spiritual or insightful nature. Picasso is famously said to have had this mark clearly on his dominant hand, his acquired destiny hand, but apparently not so clearly on his non-dominant heavenly fate hand.
Oh, interesting. So he developed it.
That's the interpretation. That his life choices, his intense artistic focus, his experiences cultivated this deep, intuitive, and spiritual capacity, which then reflected physically on his hand and, of course, profoundly influenced his art.
Okay, we've looked at all these incredible lines and marks, but the map isn't just the roads, right? The quality of the paper matters too. The texture, the clarity, the overall shape of the hand. These modify everything.
Absolutely crucial. You can have potentially great lines, but their strength is determined by their clarity and the overall condition of the hand. Lines must be clear, deep, and complete to show destiny flowing strongly along that path. It means less deviation, more certainty.
And if the lines are faint, or the palm is just full of tiny, crisscrossing lines everywhere.
Messy, shallow lines, or palm covered in countless fine lines. That suggests the destiny is more scattered, more susceptible to outside influences, maybe worries, anxieties. The old saying sums it up. Many lines, many worries. The energy is dispersed, pulled in too many directions.
What about the feel of the hand? Thickness, softness?
Generally, a thick, fleshy palm is associated with a generous, perhaps robust, or even somewhat extravagant personality. Open-handed, and softness. Interestingly, soft, pliable palms are often linked, traditionally, with better financial luck. The thinking being it suggests a life perhaps less dominated by hard physical labor, maybe more comfort or ease. though that's a broad generalization, of course.
Finger length too, right? Specifically comparing the index and ring fingers. That tells a story.
A very significant comparison, yes. Look at your own hand. If your ring finger is noticeably longer than your index finger, this is generally seen as indicating greater overall innate abilities, talents, maybe more natural flair, or even luck. Things might come a bit more easily.
And if the index finger is the longer one,
That points towards a destiny achieved through sheer diligence and hard work, the classic earning your way path. Maybe not blessed with instant talent in all areas, but they compensate with incredible perseverance and effort. Their success is built step by step, often associated with leadership through responsibility.
and the color, just the look of the skin.
Yeah, basic vitality check. A healthy, slightly rosy or ruddy color, maybe with a bit of a healthy sheen, suggests good energy, good circulation. Paleness or a mottled look might suggest lower vitality or current stress.
Okay, now for maybe the most important point of all, tying it all together, none of this is static. These lines aren't like fingerprints fixed for life. They change.
This is the absolute key takeaway for understanding palmistry, not as rigid fortune-telling, but as a dynamic map. Hand features do change. The texture can change, the color obviously changes with health. Even the depth and clarity of the lines can shift. And some sources suggest, quite remarkably, that significant changes in the palm lines can actually become noticeable roughly every 3 months.
Every 3 months, seriously. So the dominant hand especially is like a real-time report card on our choices and efforts.
That's a perfect way to describe it. A continuously updating map reflecting the impact of your acquired destiny, which leads to the final call to action for anyone listening. Keep looking. Especially at your dominant hand. Observe it over time. You might not see that mystic cross or that strong wealth line today, but check again in a few months. Your efforts, your choices, a change in mindset, they might just cause those positive signs to appear, literally shifting the map as your path evolves.
Wow. Okay, this deep dive into Zhejiang has been fascinating. We've gone from the basics of which hand to read through the big three lines and into these really powerful, almost unbelievable marks like the King's Line, Solomon's Star, the Mystic Cross.
Yeah, it's a complex system. And I think the crucial thing to remember is the difference between potentiality and certainty. The lines show potential possibility of wealth or leadership or specific talents. But it's the clarity, the depth, the completeness of those lines, combined with the overall hand health, that determines the certainty or the likelihood of that potential actually being realized. A faint, broken king's line is just a hint. A deep, clear one is considered almost destiny.
Right. And that constant dance between the blueprint and our actions, between fate and free will, it leads us to the final thought we want to leave you with today. Considering what we said about the mystic cross supposedly boosting manifestation, and knowing palmistry operates within this idea of a deterministic system that somehow interacts with belief, like the law of attraction, makes you wonder, doesn't it? Is it the line itself that has the power, or does simply acknowledging, believing that you have a powerful mark like that, does that belief itself change how you think, how you act? Does it make you behave with the confidence and intuition that then creates the success the line predicts?
Does the map define the journey, or does your faith in the map ultimately define you, the traveler? That's definitely something to ponder.
Indeed. Until next time on the deep dive, keep observing those hands. You might just be holding the keys to your own future right there in your palm.